Good morning.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Common Ground, a morning show podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gettlin.
I am your other very pregnant host, Rachel LaForce.
You're what, 21
weeks.
Good morning. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Technical difficulties. Can you mute the volume on our here we go.
I am your other very pregnant host, Rachel LaForce.
Let me fix.
Oh no. Hold on. Oh my God. It really is all in a simulation. That to me was like, we're all just living in a loop. Everything we've all done before.
We're back.
That's gnarly.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Yeah, we are. We're fine.
Yeah.
The volume was on the laptop. That's all.
I just got to learn these things,
Anyway, guys, we're back at it. We're doing our thing. I'm your host, Alex Gettlin.
I'm still pregnant, and I'm still your host, Rachel LaForce.
And we're here every Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Sure.
We're married.
Yep.
If you listen, you guys know the deal, but it's fun to, recap it, give you the highlights. Okay, so something that I never thought was like a big deal, but you're very like, we got to celebrate it. It's the week of my birthday.
Yeah. Because you don't get an actual birthday. Well, you do.
Sometimes.
Every 4 years? Is that how it works?
Yes. I'm a leap day.
You're a leap
you
year
didn't know.
baby.
Me and Ja Rule, the leapies.
Ugh.
What?
What a weird term.
Why?
I hope that's not what they call you.
The leapies?
Yeah.
No one has used it ever in my knowledge except for me.
Okay, good. I
Yeah.
like we should keep it that way.
Why?
Yeah, so it's your birthday week.
Yep.
What do you
But I
want
always
to do?
thought birthday week was like annoying because I remember when I was in college, girls were like, "It's my birthday week," and it's like you have a day, you have one night where you can be special. You don't get a whole. Or sometimes they would do birthday month. You ever remember that?
Of course I
And
do.
it's like, come on,
I
bro.
never did a birthday month. My mom always did a birthday week for me as a kid. So I don't know if all the other like little girls, kappa gamma, tried out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I went to an art school. I don't know a lot about Greek life.
Honestly, Greek life is just like any,
Had I
grouping.
not gone to art school, I would have pledged.
Yeah, I mean, Greek life, it's such an easy thing to like make fun of Greek life culture
Yeah, of course.
because it's typically rich white people who do it.
Yeah, it's rife for comedy.
But it's just the same as like any grouping of people that want to just do stuff. I always thought it was dumb when people would be like, "Oh, you're in a frat, so you pay for your friends." It's like, no, we like pull our money to throw parties. I'm not paying money to other members of the fraternity to be friends with me.
It seems like this is a trigger point for you.
Well, it was just dumb. But anyway, so yeah, it's the week of my birthday.
So you're 33. You're going to be 33. This is your prime year.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? Where are you at? What are you excited about? Do you do year? Why am I asking this? I know you don't do yearly
Yeah,
reflections.
wait, you're my wife. You should know this.
I know.
Well, I do like when there's an actual leap day doing something. Last year was kind of uneventful,
Yeah.
Um,
I've spent one actual year with you where you had
correct.
your birthday.
Yes.
Is that the year we went to Benihana?
Yes.
Yeah. And you got a little toasted.
No, we didn't go to. I think we went to Gyakaku. Or no, not Bia. No.
We went to Benihana on your actual birthday. This has got to be so boring for people to listen to.
Yeah.
Wait, where did we go? Who was it? You remember the guy. He was kind of short, but kind of tall, had brown hair, sandy brown hair. You remember.
But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about something more like going on. I want your take on this. Okay. So there's a protest happening right now in our city.
Okay.
Where the Los Angeles Unified School District, they're at like LAUSD is what they're called. The teachers union is refusing to go back to work, saying that it's unsafe because there haven't been enough vaccination rollouts. Now, I know there are a lot of people who are good teachers, who work hard, who are underpaid, all that good stuff. But I kind of feel like there's this kind of attitude. It's like, well, I mean, why would we want to have to go back to work if we can just do it from home? And it sort of feels like, it's a pretty easy excuse to just put off having to like go back to your real job by. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I mean, I feel like that's always like where it's like, are people good or are people bad, right? Like, again, this whole thing where we want to be able to categorize people. To me, I think it's teachers are still incredibly underpaid. They deal with, especially in public schools, they deal with the most bullshit. And they, in many ways, are going to be like, I mean, kids get sick. I mean, kids get sick really easily. Now, they come back from it pretty easily.
Yeah, but kids
they
almost never get COVID. It's like a thing that we've like seen now.
Well, but do we actually, I mean, don't get... now I'm going to spend the whole hour talking about COVID and what we actually know, because it's, like the way that people have rolled out, or the World Health Organization, the Trump administration, I mean, everything that was teaching us or sharing with us what was happening with COVID feels the same way. We're like, 1 month, like this just in, one piece of dark chocolate will help you stay away from cancer. And then the next month it's like, turns out one piece of dark chocolate, you will have cancer. Like there's been such a flip flop of information that, I don't know. I don't blame them. It's like, if you don't want to open up again, it's like, to me, we got to open up everything and go towards herd immunity, or... because at this point, like the things that should have been done to really curb where we're at were not done. They weren't done. We didn't have an administration that cared, frankly, that didn't educate, that didn't do anything to protect the majority. They protected their interests. And now this is where we're at. So to me, it's like, obviously I want to keep people safe and we have individual liberties to choose if we do go out or if we don't. But I feel like, I don't know, I don't blame them that they don't want to go back and make at best $40,000 a year to have to keep a classroom of 25 to 38-year-olds in their seat and ask them to wear masks. Who would want to do that?
Sure. So that kind of proves my point that you're saying you think that they're actively fighting going back to in-person teaching because the job sucks, not because it's actually dangerous.
No, I don't. I think it's both. I think that I think it's absolutely both.
Okay. I'm just skeptical. It's just like,
But you don't think that people should be afraid of being in large groups? I mean, all of those kids, everybody that they come into contact with, their family, all of the people coming in and coughing on each other and yelling and screaming in a classroom, and then you times that by all of the other classrooms.
No, because what we've seen is that like it affects children at like a incredibly low infection rate. Like kids, it affects the elderly. Anyway, I just thought, I guess my take was like,
but severely. But it's still, kids can still get COVID. There's still been cases of children getting COVID. Then you're also still dealing with all the other teachers, all of the staff members, all of the janitorial staff.
I forgot to mention this part. This came off the heels of, we've all had like Zoom meetings that sometimes people forget the Zoom meeting might still be going.
Sure.
So the school board, I believe this was LA County. I have to double check. But the LA County school board or some school board, I don't want any banana bread, thank you. It is delicious though, Trader Joe's banana bread. It's
a morning show.
They're not a sponsor yet, but I mean.
Okay, so keep going. So Zoom, and what happened?
So like the school board meetings are public, so they were like on Zoom, and then they thought the meeting was over, and then the members of the school board were like outwardly trashing the parents, being like, one of them was like, the meeting's over, right? They can't see us, and the person's like, yep, and then one lady literally said something to the effect of like to these parents, if you try and get in my way of my job, I'm going to fuck you up. Like trying to, like literally said that. Another one was saying like, oh, they just want us to be back in person so they can have a babysitter again. They don't, like, they're just basically shitting on the parents.
So were these people fired?
Yeah, the whole school board resigned when it came out. So it was basically.
Here is what I don't understand.
Let me hold on,
okay,
one last
all
thing.
right, I've got thoughts.
And then while they're talking, then one woman goes like, we're not actually offline. People saw this. And then they were like, and then so the whole school board just resigned in embarrassment.
Good. I think that's so
So John Lee Odom, our friend, what's up, John? Thank you. He says, some science shows that pregnant women can give the antibodies to their babies.
I actually was thinking about trying to take an antibody test.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. I could sign up and go get one somewhere, but I'm just interested to know.
Wait, I want to finish your thoughts on the school board thing because it was just so funny.
Well, I don't understand at this point why people don't know that they're always being watched.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because,
like Senator Ted Cruz getting caught on the.
I mean, what an absolute buffoon.
Dude.
What just like a puppet idiot of a man. I don't have anything. Obviously, if he was here, I'd be like, Ted, listen, you know you screwed up. Right? Okay. I don't think you're a complete moron, but I certainly think that like you shouldn't be in any sort of position of power. That was the best choice you could make. Ted, I don't want to hear it. I don't have time. Okay. With a face like that and this kind of, you know what I mean?
Dude, the funniest thing is I saw like a meme or something with like music and it was like, if you like pina coladas and getting caught on a plane and it was Ted Cruz like rolling his bag down the aisle. Okay, so the school board.
But that's the thing I don't understand is how people at this point don't know you're always being watched. Maybe it's because as comics, I always know that, and listen, that's not to say that I won't at some point make a mistake and offend someone or use the wrong language or whatever, right? I think the ability to apologize and learn and like genuinely apologize, not wait 6 months, hide out, and then be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. No. Come to the plate and say, hey, I messed up. I didn't know. I appreciate everybody coming out and letting me know this. You know, making a mistake on such a large forum is a feeling that not so many people understand. I appreciate your grace through this. Stay with me as I'm learning. Thank you. That's the apology. That's it. It's a real apology. That's it. You don't have to, that's it. So I feel like I'm always kind of thinking through what are the things that I'm saying and can I stand behind them? What are you thinking?
Finish. I have a funny thought.
But I don't know. It's like the same thing with like when cops act out with racist behavior or violent behavior.
Yeah, well, that's
and
a
then
real
you're
problem.
like, I'm sorry. What did you think that everybody just wasn't paying attention to you anymore? Like, stop. Like, just, it's like things like that. Like, we're already watching you, dog. And that's how I feel about like, you don't know with these Zoom meetings, like 2 seconds after the fact, you couldn't have waited to talk shit till you got to the parking lot. Same thing, Ted Cruz. Like,
well, they weren't all. They were all at home. Like the school board wasn't together.
I know. It's just. I'm just saying. Like,
Sure.
you couldn't have
Yeah.
waited a second. You know what I mean? And also, if you hate the people you're working for that badly, get a new job.
Yeah. It was just, I guess to me, to make this full circle on my first point, is it was just interesting to like see this school board, these people on the school board, like basically shitting on the parents, being like, oh, they're trying to force us back to in-person learning so they can have a babysitter for their shitty kids, which is probably true for some parents. There's a lot of parents who they don't take an active role in educating their children at home and stuff, and they just look at school as like a babysitter, I suppose. But then it was also convenient, like interesting.
I don't think it's as a babysitter. I think we live in a society where we know we can send our kids to school. I don't think there's anything wrong with that a parent's like, yeah, this is what like the agreement as our society is.
Right. I'm just saying then it was interesting that like on the heels of that, this teachers union is still protesting going back to work, saying that it's not, it's just to me, it's like, when will it be safe enough? Anyway.
Now that is an interesting question. That is a question I will entertain. But to say that just because people want to stay safe, I mean, these numbers are still insane. Just because we're not seeing it. I mean, that's the other thing where it's like, you know, there's a large, because I was already reading something today where it was like, stay tuned for a spring surge that's going to happen because now numbers are going down and everyone's like, oh, I can go out again. I can do whatever I want. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, but like, look at a state like Florida. It doesn't seem like Florida's morgue is like overflowing and then they're in like a complete, utter state of chaos. It's people that are making their own choices. And if they want to go out and live their life, they can. And it is, I mean, we're not better off here and you can't do anything in LA.
I know. I'm not pro like everything shut down. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's no balance. Because also like a balance would be, you know, the other thing is like the Los Angeles County School Board, they don't want to actually have to do their job and do any sort of work. Because you know what they could do is propose like, okay, we're going to do like, 3 days a week, these kids come in, 2 days a week, these kids come in, and then we rotate. But it's like, well, that's too hard. Yeah, that's your job. Figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what you're hired to do. Like there are ways for people to create balance in these situations, and nobody wants to look for those things. Like this is a very like nuanced, complex situation, and people want, a result right away. There isn't an instant result. I mean, to your point, it's like, well, when will it be okay? And it's like, honestly, probably another 2 years after herd immunity is taken over and the majority of people who agree with vaccination have been vaccinated. But even the vaccine doesn't mean that you can't get COVID. The vaccine simply just means that you are 95% more likely to be asymptomatic. You can still obtain it and you can still be a carrier.
Yeah, so then like we should I don't know. We're basically at a year now of this.
Yeah.
And to me it just seems dumb that like this is our life now. Like it doesn't seem like we're ever going to go back to people being able to just do what they want.
Okay. I guess you seem half asleep right now. I'm trying to like gauge you and figure out like
no, I'm
what,
just
like are you philosophizing? Which I know is not a word. What's the real word for that? What's the word, Scotty?
I think that's it.
Oh, okay.
It is philosophizing. No, I guess it just I don't know. It just was one of those
Now, do you feel like you would feel different if one of our parents had gotten COVID and was very ill? Do you feel like you would have a different perspective on it?
Maybe to an extent, but then the question would I
don't say that to be threatening. I'm just saying I think it's also easier sometimes when we haven't been affected by a situation to minimize a situation.
John Odom says speculation would be the word. Thank you, John Lee Odom, for sending in comments.
Oh,
and also Samantha Kilbish said, Ted, I don't want to hear it. That's funny. No, it's just one of those.
He's an idiot, Sam.
It's just one of those things where it's like seeing the school board like shitting on the parents on a public forum on accident.
Well, it wasn't on accident. They got caught.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. And then the parents, or excuse me, the teachers being like, it's not safe yet, and it just feels like we're all just. It just feels like this whole thing has turned everybody into like, okay, how can I make this situation the absolute best win for me personally, and not really do like what is probably the right thing.
Well, yes, you're talking about the Trump administration. From the beginning, we should have. But I'm just saying.
Enough. Trump's out of here.
No, not enough. First of all, back off. Okay, I'm allowed you. Don't rile me up, and then like I come at something. What are you like this? Like all of a sudden, like staunch Trump supporter?
I've never spoken support.
Okay,
for
then
Trump.
I'm just saying.
But
Don't tell me to back off.
That's a cop out to be like.
No, it's not. All of this started a year ago under an administration that chose to not act immediately. Right. That is a fact. That's not on Trump. I don't care. Everybody that was involved. It was all of them. I don't care about their policies. What I'm talking about right now is they had an opportunity to change the shift of what happened, and they did not act. Bottom line. And so what we're experiencing now could have been vastly different if we would have, all come together, had the same narrative, figured it out, but it became even more divisive. And now we are in this place where you're right, where it's like there are a lot of people like, how can I use this to my advantage? Because nobody knows what the other side of this looks like. But that's the other problem where it was like, as humans, we're like, we have to control this. We have to, we have to know. And it's like, we don't know. Who knows? For the majority of people, it's like a bad flu. I mean, even the majority of people I know that had like mild symptoms, meaning they didn't have to go to the hospital, were like, dude, it was awful. I was laid out like straight up for 2 weeks, like really, really rough. But, I think to your point, it's like, okay, how do we create a balance now of like reopening things and going back out? Because I do agree where it's like, okay, well, we can't do this for another 5 years. Like this isn't working either. But I really have to harp on that point of like, halfway through, or a year in now, it's like, we can't change the tide. We had a year of misinformation, shared information, rumors about the vaccine, then anti-vaxxers, then actual truth coming out about, the vaccine. Like, there's so much misinformation. We're in it now, man. But they did have the opportunity to unite us, to deliver real information, to support people financially so that they could have stayed at home for a longer period of time so that we could have gotten a handle on this, and they didn't. And here's where we are.
And you're saying all of our government, or the Trump administration?
I think all of our government. I mean, California government included. I mean, I think I think California, out of everything that's messed up, I would say that like our unemployment benefits and stuff like that, even though the system, some people got them, some people didn't. I mean, obviously, but again, when you have millions and millions of people suddenly, filing on the system that probably hasn't been updated since the 90s anyway, like, of course, there were going to be issues. I think that was like, of course. But I think California actually is a pretty good system. I think I've just heard, in comparison to friends that were in other cities that lost their job or had to be at home or whatever, or were furloughed, that our system was actually more efficient and provided more.
Well, that's terrifying because ours was still pretty bad.
It was very bad. But I'm just saying, I still feel like we were able to. Now, we don't have children. We didn't have a mortgage, like things like that. We were able to, to get by. But there are plenty of people that were not able to.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I just from the original point I started talking about, I guess it was just, to me, it. What's so funny?
Okay, yeah.
Never mind.
No, finish.
What else do you want to talk about today?
No,
I asked you last night.
What is up your butt, Gettlin? Just finish.
I was just saying, to me, it was just an example of like, even the teachers are shitty now. Everybody just gave up on like.
Well, I do think a lot of people are angry. I think a lot of people feel unheard, unseen. And the other thing is, this has affected everyone so differently that it's hard for us to kind of make blanket statements about what we should do moving forward because it's affected everybody so differently. So people are angry, Some people have been fine. All of their work transferred to home, and they're like, oh, it was kind of nice. Got to spend more time with my kids. And, like my husband worked from home and it was great. Like some people, it was just an adjustment, but it was fine. Some people lost every single thing they had. Some people lost parents. Some people, lost grandparents. Some people, it's like the way that some people's work stress increased by, a million miles. Some people, I mean, it's just, it really, I think it's hard for us to talk about it in blanket statements about what, I don't know. I guess I don't blame people for being angry.
It's not that. It's just, anyway, we can move on from this topic. It was just one of those things where, you don't have to blame people for being angry, but it's like, it was just one of those things where it's just like, to me, it's like, I don't think you guys are like heroes and brave and shit for like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I
don't think they're saying, look at me as a hero. And also, aren't you all Mr. like individual rights? People should be able to do what they want to do. Like, let them protest if they want to.
Totally. That's not what I'm referring to, though. What I'm saying is.
So what about it makes you angry? Because I feel like I feel like it's coming from a place where it makes you angry.
Because the science and logic, from what I see, seems to reason that, like, it would be pretty safe for teachers to be at school with, like, a moderately sized classroom of children who are, like, statistically the lowest rate of people prone to get COVID. But the teachers union, like any union, or most unions, have a lot of power, and they're like, no, we're not going to go back. I mean, why? This is a sweet gig. We get to work from home, and I don't fault you for that. Like, working from home is great.
I also don't know, though. I mean, I'm sure doing online learning is easier doing it from home rather than having 30 kids in a classroom, certainly. But I also couldn't imagine that trying to actually teach kids online for 8 hours a day is like where they're like, ugh, This is the life. Like, I'm sure that's still incredibly difficult because these teachers are still being like, their pay and like all that stuff is still dependent on like these kids' like aptitude and like testing and all of that. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure.
Sure. Anyway, I mean, we've talked about this topic too long. It was
You seem really annoyed with it.
No, it was just an example of like, it just seems like collectively the simplest way is like, even though I think from what I can see with the like science and stats, everything we know about it, it's like it's pretty safe to go back to school in person and be better for these children and better for the parents and better for the families. But the teachers union's like, well, yeah, but like, no, we want more shit.
Mm-hmm. So if you were Governor Gettlin,
Oh God,
First Lady, if you were Governor Gettlin, how would you propose we move forward? What would your thoughts be?
Reopen schools. And if parents don't want to send their children to school, that's a different conversation. But parents now don't have the option. It's like it's been a year basically, and it's just it doesn't seem like the claims feel like a lot more like oh, we don't feel safe. It's like that to me. I would like to see the amount of teachers that are advocating we don't feel safe teaching in the classroom that are still like doing like unsafe activities in their life.
Sure, like going out and
yeah. Like I want to know. I'm just skeptical of the authenticity of the claim of like we don't feel safe teaching in person.
But I'm saying the rollout of because you're like Florida's fine. Why aren't we like Florida? So that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think that we should all, like just open? What would you have us do? You're like you are the governor of California. What do you do?
Resign. Let someone else take the job.
Okay, here we go. And scene.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I have a suggestion of something you might find in your trunk?
Mm-hmm.
That's a joke.
I know.
Are you all right, man?
Well, we're having issues with the camera, but you tell me never to address it. So
what are you talking about? Issues with the camera? What's wrong?
Scott, go to mine.
It's fine. It just sometimes it's blurry.
And then your framing is off, and
It's okay.
Then stop and fix it if you'd
you
like.
always tell me not to do that.
Okay, well, people are watching right now, so if you want to stop, you can do it. I'm sorry, guys. Alex has put a lot of energy into this. Here you go. Yours looks fine. Oh, it's because it's delayed. I see.
I was gonna fix it, but I didn't want to mess with anything.
And then my camera went out of focus. It's just
Yeah, it's fine.
Fine, just keep talking.
Oh, there we go. I was being adjusted.
All right. For those of you watching live, I hope you enjoyed that.
All right, are you good? Everything's good. We can move on. I would say the best part about doing this is that I have Scott Gettlin here with me.
Okay.
Everybody's favorite.
It's all its glory.
You know what I mean? Well, and you had asked me, you were like, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Like in the news and what's going on. And I realized like, it's actually kind of been like a low news cycle.
That's what it's interesting. Hey, what's up, Tucker? He says, good morning, Rachel and Alex is by. We're fixing the cameras. Yeah. That's something else too I realized. It's like, oh yeah. When there isn't chaos in the world, now we're just like, okay, I guess that's
I know, but isn't that such a like a needed respite? Like I thought it was so nice when all of a sudden I was like, ooh, what does that feel like? Just easy sailing, just nice, clean, clear skies. I thought it was really nice.
Just not having any news to talk about.
Yeah. Like, I was just like, I mean, because think about how long it's been. So since like, I mean, obviously, and maybe that's not fair to say because like everything that's been going on in Texas is like absolutely, it is chaos, right?
Yeah.
But like in our federal news cycle or just meaning kind of like on a whole, there hasn't been a lot going on. And I'm like, that's kind of nice. Right?
Yeah, but I wonder.
I mean, think about the past year, and like it just literally feels like being held underwater, and then every time you're like, and then somebody like punches you in the face and then pushes you back down.
But see, I don't think that's a reflection of what's really going on in the world in our country. think that's more of a reflection of like, oh, corporate media and the DNC are in lockstep with each other. So when their team is in power, it's a lot easier to keep the narrative of like, yeah, it's all good. You know, let's write some stories about Joe Biden playing with his fireplace. That's like a thing. Like there's like a piece about how like Joe Biden likes to put his own logs in the fire. And
Of course he does. He's like 100 years old.
Yeah.
He was probably born in a log cabin.
Yeah. It just, listen, again, for like the millionth time, just to clarify, I'm not a Trump fan supporter. I'm not a Republican. And I'm not, none of that stuff. It's just interesting to me when the Democrats are back in power, how a lot of the mainstream media seems to be like, yeah, pretty, it's all good. No reason to worry, guys. Our team's at the helm of the ship.
Well, I definitely agree with you that we have a very liberal leaning media. We have a media that's bought and paid for, certainly. But I also would say that we are in much that the rhetoric of Trump and Biden are very different stories too.
Sure.
So I think, also probably we haven't heard Biden speak for a while because they had to wean him off all those uppers that they had him on for the last 9 months.
I do wonder. Also, John, thank you for all the comments. I see them. He was joking that he probably burns like an effigy of Trump in his fireplace.
Oh.
I am curious to see like how much longer Biden will be our president. I don't think he'll make it the full term. There's already been reports of Kamala Harris on behalf of Biden, like she's doing the different like communications with foreign leaders. I don't know if you've seen this. You don't really keep up with this stuff the way I do, but like there's been like a lot of reports that like he's not even the one on the phone with like other diplomats and world leaders. It's Kamala Harris who's doing all the like, conversations, which I honestly is probably better. Let's see what Tucker has to say. Because what do you guys think about what's so funny?
He's bringing you back. Just read it.
Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think about the current situation with the Biden administration and teachers unions advocating that teachers shouldn't back to school in person till 99% of them are vaccinated? So Tucker,
you missed the first half of the show. That's all. We got very heated.
Yeah. I had to move. Yeah, the light is kind of in the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Tucker, you missed the top of the show when we had a roarious debate about teachers. I'm skeptical of the teachers.
No, I didn't know this, that they were saying that 99% of teachers are vaccinated. And
No, he's saying that they don't want to go back to school.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. I'm saying I didn't know that fact was in play, that they wanted, because again, listen, and I'm not like anti-vax. I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying this narrative that like, well, once we all have the vaccine, like then COVID will go away. Obviously, it's going to decrease significantly. I'm not a moron, but I think also, just reminding people that it's like the vaccine is not saying the efficacy is not that people will not get COVID. It's that if you were to get it, what?
It's just funny that we're like
circling back. I told you.
Well,
right? That's the theme of today. Remember when we heard ourselves? There's been all sorts of looping back. We're in a time loop.
This conversation, it's like a microwave because it's getting reheated.
You stopped us for that?
That was good, right?
Okay.
Well, John Lee Odom, our friend. By the way, if you guys are just listening to the audio version, you can always watch us live. Send in your comments. We do like to make them part of the show in real time. John Lee Odom is saying, you know who Q is from QAnon, right? That actually Biden is Trump and Trump is Biden, and they did a face-off switch kind of thing. And so really Trump is still at the helm of the ship. I mean, could you imagine? You know what's funny is that there's now no conspiracy anymore where I would hear it and think like, no one's going to buy that. I remember when like there was a time when people believing the earth is flat was silly. And now it's like, oh no, this is just things people believe.
Well, I think, again, that had a lot to do with, which is why I always go back and I say language is so important.
Yeah.
Because the language around and a lot of the language that Trump was using, I believe, was very dangerous. Now, that's not to say, and again, where it's like, well, you can't disregard all the people who voted for him as like morons, like they felt unseen, et cetera. I'm like, totally, I'm here for that. We have not seen those people. We don't advocate for, like poor whites in America. We really don't even talk about them, to be honest. We don't even really talk about poor people in general.
White people?
Yeah. I mean, we don't really talk about poor people in our country anyway, but
No, that's not true.
they
They get used poor minorities get used as a political pawn every election
right, but we don't
cycle.
care about them. We're not doing anything to change their situation. Sure. But I'm simply saying that, like, all of the rhetoric of fake news, and then when like the social dilemma came out, and like all of this stuff and all this passing of information, I think a lot of people, that healthy questioning got accelerated to a place where now people are like,
well, we've seen that like the mainstream media, whatever, like it's just been exposed how much they lie as well. That like basically anything you want to consider bullshit, there's a pretty good argument for it. So it's made it difficult to have
unless you join Rachel LaForce's party, the no bullshit party.
That is true. But it also, just to your point, it kind of was because typically we can just we just jump into the podcast and there's so much in the world that we're just like, Jesus, dude. And then, this week it's been kind of like, Texas got cold. But
lots of conspiracies there.
Oh, yeah. But those are ridiculous. I honestly think like that kind of stuff, it's more of just like people just doing fan fiction like that, less of like, oh, this is something I really believe. It's more just people being funny.
Oh, no. There are people that very much believe all of these conspiracies.
That like the snow in Texas is fake and it's all.
Yes. And that it's all, I mean, there are people, listen, I understand if you don't like the Democratic Party as it is designed now, because they're tied into big business. They, they're basically just the same as, their interests are different, obviously, than the Republican Party, but more or less it's all the same. You know what I mean? Same horse, different jockey. So I understand that. But I think some of these claims about Joe Biden are hilarious.
Wait, like what?
I mean, just the things that it's like, that he's the most in charge of trafficking all of these children, and that like he's tied to like demonic, like he's basically giving all of these cues that he's, a part of like a Satanist cult.
Just John Lee Odom goes, hold the phone. Rachel talked about the bullshit party last time. Let's go.
But I think, I don't know. Like, I'm just like, listen, was Biden like creepy with women, and like we should talk about that? Yes. Did Kamala Harris put a lot of people away in order to like serve herself? Yes. Like, are we still, looking after our own interest to a certain extent? Yes. Those things should be addressed. But I'm like, Biden could barely, like, he could barely talk into a camera. Mm-hmm. Like, you think that he's like behind all of these, like.
Yeah, I think what's more plausible is that he's just like an easy person to manipulate by the people who really pull the levers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was that, and I think that the Democratic Party knew that. Listen, nobody actually wants real change because in the powers that be. Because if they did, they would have put Bernie as the ticket. Right. He would have been the dude. But everybody was like, yeah, no, we don't want that. And also I get into a whole conversation where I get really angry and people are like, well, this isn't a socialist country, okay? They're trying to make it socialist. And it's like, providing humanitarian, like, like money or supplies for people during a not only national emergency, which is what this pandemic has been, but a global emergency is not socialist.
I don't think that's the concern. I think the concern.
Oh, it's a very big concern, because it was like that thing of like, well, if we give them, if we give them an inch, then it's going to be this whole like socialist community.
I think that's less of the concern specifically, though, and more about like how the government never. There's like basically nothing that the government has stepped in to fix and made it better. Like, it's almost always the case where the government tries to like fix a problem and it gets worse.
Certainly, but this was a global pandemic.
Okay.
And we should have figured out a way to provide enough money and resources for people that we weren't in this situation. Because that's the other thing. I understand that like there are a lot of complex systems within the government, and like money has to go from here to here. It's like a ping pong. It goes to here to here to here to here. There's going to go down the chute and woo back around. Like, I get it, but also we're the fucking United States of America. Don't tell me that we're the most powerful country in the world and feed me all this patriarchal bullshit and then not be able to figure out how to take care of your own citizens and your own people during the biggest national emergency of modern times.
Yeah, I just think it's there's not really any scenario we could have come up with. It would have been like, because no country has gotten it right. Every country is either.
Well, there's no getting it right. I mean, we don't know. We never experienced this before, but there are certainly steps we could have made towards unity, steps towards security, steps towards safety that we just frankly didn't do.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like long term what this, because like it's everything, right? Like when we fly now, like those rules are in effect forever. Like the new
What rules?
Like you got to take your shoes off. You can't.
Oh yeah. The TSA measures from 9/11.
Like what I mean, yeah. Like there's that quote everybody knows, like never let a good crisis go to waste.
Right.
It's like I just feel like now it's just now that we've been in this for a year, it really is dawning on me like, oh yeah, like these are just the rules. Like when the government just says like, no, this is unsafe or that's unsafe, we just all have to be like, okay. I mean, I guess that's how it is now.
But even in every state, it's different. I mean, I think maybe there's some. I mean, to me, I don't get everything right. I'm not the smartest person in the room.
Let's make that a clip.
I'm just saying I know I have a lot of opinions, and I feel like a lot of them are coming from a place of balance and cut right down the middle. But I certainly think we could have afforded from being honest and being like, hey, so this is a thing we've never experienced before. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try a couple of different things, and we're going to try them in different phases because we can't even collect data to know what's happening. I mean, that was the other thing where it's like, oh, we're going to get ahead of this thing. Do you know how long it's going to take to collect national data to even know who this is affecting and how it's affecting? Like everybody just went into this panic mode of like, and everybody's just throwing up on each other in the media trying to tell us what it was. And there's no sensibility of going, this is a thing we're going to have to try a couple different things. We're going to have to figure out what works. We're going to do it together. And I know there's plenty of people who would be like, that's not enough. Because we've created a society that's fear-based, and so people need answers right away. And, so it's just the snake eating its own tail over and over and over again. Rather than in the beginning, had they gone, cool, so as we know about pandemics, this is probably going to take about 2 years to work its way through America to create herd immunity. That's what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to get sick. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to pass away. If you are, autoimmune or, all these different things that make you susceptible, here is what we're suggesting of not going outside.
What does autoimmune mean?
Autoimmune diseases, there's a whole range of them. But basically it puts you at very, very high risk for typically pneumonia, or you can pick up even influenza, things like that.
You know what's going to be interesting is this is for sure wearing masks is going to become a class thing. And what I mean by that is it's going to get to a point where COVID's pretty much stomped out. So people who are on the consumer side will be able to just go and out in the world and not have to wear masks anymore. But I bet you all these new direct person-to-person businesses, going to Chipotle, for example, that kind of shit, they're going to make their staff wear masks forever because it's just going to be oh, well, we're avoiding lawsuits and complaints. So from
probably at least for the next year and a half, I would say, yeah.
Longer than that. I think it's going to be indefinite because I
don't think forever, but I certainly think it's going to have to be about a year and a half post when we all stop wearing masks in public places. But I don't think that that's going to happen for 2 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too when we're in a decade or two from now when there's some holdouts still wearing masks And then our kids are like, Mom, why is that lady wearing a mask? Well, sweetheart, you don't know this, but before you were born, like right when you were about to be here, there was this crazy pandemic, and they lied to us and said, all these masks help, or maybe it's not a lie. I don't know.
Well, masks do well. Proper masks. If you have like a cloth mask or it's over your nose or whatever, but like an N95 mask or a surgical mask, yes.
Yeah, it helps to a degree, but apparently, anyway, it's it's just interesting. I'm thinking about that, like where are going to be the last holdouts in society, or in things we do where they're going to be like flight attendants. I bet they're going to make them keep, even if we all start taking them off, they're going to make them keep them on. You know what I mean? Just because it'll make everybody's life less convenient involved in the process.
I mean,
but
go ahead.
I was going to say, but it'll avoid potential lawsuits and people being able to complain.
I mean, I will say I have always not liked having people very close in my space. Like I've always not been into it. But I finally took myself out yesterday because I had not been out of the house in weeks. And I was like, I'm losing my mind. So I drove up to Panga Canyon, which is mostly outdoors, right? It's nice and nature, etc. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy this. But it was still the same thing. And you could only have so many people in the store at a time, right? And stuff like that. And everybody had masks on. But occasionally, yeah, you'd have somebody. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Is the answer to your life's prayers on my back? Get out of the way. I mean,
yeah, but you've always been hypersensitive.
I know, but that's the thing where I'm just I'm definitely not paranoid about COVID. It's just a thing that exists, and I feel like to be paranoid about it is just adding to the stress that's already there. But I definitely felt that because I had gotten a sandwich and there was some outdoor seats, and so I chose one that was kind of out of the way, so I'm not by all of these people. Also, keep in mind I'm pregnant right now, so I'm a little bit more hyper vigilant. But yeah, still people coming over standing in front of my table, and I'm like, I'm sorry, are we holding court? Get out of here. I don't have a mask on. I'm eating. I'm very clearly pregnant. Get away from me.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. What?
I'm just gonna call this the I Don't Know by Alex Gettlin episode.
Well, okay. What else do you want to get into today?
Oh man, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
This is an hour a week for you guys. This is me every day.
Yeah, hilarious.
I think I think some people do think it's hilarious.
Why don't you recap? Yes.
Tucker. Something tells me he actually does know.
Yeah.
You're right, Tucker. You know us well, my friend.
So listen. So last week we were talking about how we were about to go do our full anatomy scan for the baby.
Yep.
And we had that happen.
Yep.
You want to recap that for all of our loyal fans and listeners?
Yeah, I made a story about it on my Instagram, but it's worth telling again. So buckle up for this one, baby. So because of our insurance, hi, Jared Kushner, we had to...
Jared Kushner?
Oscar Insurance.
I don't think it's him. I think it's his brother.
I know.
You were just...
And I think it's the same brother that's married to Carly Kloss.
Carly Rae Jepsen?
No.
Remember her?
Yeah, I do. What was that song?
Call Me Maybe.
Oh, yeah. Who sang that Friday song? Friday.
That was Rebecca
Friday.
Black.
I cannot believe you know all of those things.
I don't know why I know that, but I remember that there was she was on one of those stupid news shows being interviewed, and they were like, Rebecca, apparently your mom tells us that the bullying has just gotten out of control since the song came out. And her example was yeah, people would be like, hey, Rebecca, what day is it? It's all right, dude, if that's the bullying that's affecting your life, you need to fucking grow a pair. If you've got millions of views and people are teasing you about the song that you sang.
This is the part of the show where 45, almost 50 minutes in, there's more energy I just saw from you in recapping Rebecca's bullying.
Mm-hmm.
So Oscar Insurance. Yeah. So we had to go. I couldn't do our anatomy scan with our normal OB. We had to go and see somebody else. And so, engaging with anyone right now feels like almost a sense of intimacy, because especially when people are like touching your body, etc. Right? Because it's like, this is COVID, I don't know you, and so. And the anatomy scan is like where they're basically, scanning the whole baby's body. So they're measuring his liver, his femurs, his legs, counting his toes, his fingers.
Confirming he has a penis.
Looking at all four like valves of his heart and like where the blood is pumping, the connection of the umbilical cord, like. Where Lord forbid if there was not something that wasn't working properly. I mean, this is like tragic news that you're delivering to somebody. And because of COVID, I had to go by myself. Okay. So I'm like, just be cool.
I know, God, it's so stupid.
Like, don't freak out. And so I'm in this like dark room with Nurse Erica, and who's like not speaking to me, which is fine. Like, we don't have to be best friends. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to follow each other on Instagram, but also like, that I can't have anybody in here with me. Like, at least be like, how are you? So it's just silent. And me, where I'm like, I never met a stranger. I'm going to win her over. Nope. Didn't happen. There was multiple times I tried to crack a joke, and then it was just a, like, didn't even look up, and then I'm like, okay.
So another example of someone who probably really doesn't like their job, and if they were given a pass to just stay at home and Zoom in to do it, they'd probably say, yes, please, thank you. Even if it wasn't the best way to do the job, but they're like, yeah, but like, come on, like, whatever.
I think Tucker's right. I think you definitely do have some opinions. Rebecca Black, she's a national treasure. She's something. But yeah, the anatomy scan was interesting. We were so grateful. Everything came back good. Baby boy is healthy. He's a pound and like some odd inches. I'm finally starting to feel him, which is bizarre because it literally just feels like it's like this like light flutter.
It's hard to know what that, like, a light flutter, like
if you imagine just like a feather being trickled across like the really like under like sensitive part of your belly. That's what it feels like.
But in your uterus.
But inside of your belly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Well, we'll be here soon.
He'll be here soon.
And then I guess, I don't know what we'll do about the podcast then. I guess maybe you'll bring him in here.
Yeah. I mean, all he's going to be doing for the first 3 months is eating and then sleeping. Eating and then sleeping. So, I'm going to be exhausted, but there's many workarounds. I think we're going to be all right.
Wait, Tucker, what's your question? She's going to have to steal the Declaration of Independence. I also appreciate John and Tucker commenting all through the podcast. It's always nice when we have folks interacting with us. Yeah, I don't know. This week we normally there's like a thing that we're just like, we got to rip this apart or talk about it, but we didn't really.
Well, I said, do you, because typically you are our content coordinator.
Yeah.
So you bring all the content. So I didn't think I thought,
Well, we were
just show up and I bring the funny.
I was ranting about the school teachers thing. Yeah, it's just, it's funny. It's weird too that we've like got like, ooh, what happened this week? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's also because the podcast didn't start out that way.
Yeah.
We would have brought in all sorts of, segments and things like that today if I would have known. But the news has been so crazy that I almost felt disrespectful not addressing it. Like, that's why we started talking about it, because I was like, to me, what's going on in the world is so heavy. It doesn't seem responsible to be somebody who has a voice in the media sphere to not be speaking to what's really going on. So we shifted. And this is the first week in a year that it was like, oh, okay. Well,
I guess that's it.
So I don't know. That's kind of great. That's kind of a good thing.
Yeah. I guess we should take solace in the fact that, listen, if we were living in Texas right now, we probably wouldn't have a podcast this week because we'd be without power or water.
Yeah.
So there is an irony to that like, all these people fled Texas from LA.
I know. Oh my gosh. There's probably maybe about 5 or so folks that I either know IRL or have connected with through Instagram that just moved to Austin. Like, just moved there.
And do they regret it?
No, but of course they're like, this is my life now, like how that happened.
Yeah. Well, we've got 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Normally you have like your final thoughts. Last week you went on a rant about earthing.
I did. I had a lot of thoughts and feels. No, I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel like we did it, Give people their 5 minutes back,
You just want to end it early.
Hey, JoJo.
This has been our greatest episode ever, and by that I mean, you don't always have a slam dunk every episode.
But sometimes you want to go on a date with somebody and know that you're comfortable enough to sit in silence, and that's what I feel like we did for our listeners today. You know what I mean? It's fine. Like we know each other so well, we're comfortable. Sometimes you just want to just have it be easy.
Well, this is episode 4, I believe, of Common Ground.
Yep.
And yeah, we got past the third date. Third date is typically when you fornicate, right?
Yep.
Not for everybody. Sometimes you go a little faster than that, but depends on your preference. And yeah, now we're just kind of in. I don't feel like I'm giving a good sales pitch for why they should keep tuning in.
No, I've been worried about you the whole episode.
All right.
I don't know.
Just because we had a lot of stuff to scramble this morning, and
I know, but you know what? That's welcome to the game, my friend. That's how it goes.
When you don't have a crew, you do it yourself.
Amen. DIY. That's what this whole year has been about.
Yeah.
Who's going to do it? It's going to be you.
DIY. Don't ignore yourself. That's what you always say. You had a self day yesterday.
Okay. Guys, on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a mediocre good time. We are grateful that most things are going pretty okay in the world right now. If you're able to, if you are in a position to look up all the places that you can send and donate money or time, resources, etc. In Texas, they do need your help right now. There's a lot going on. So if
you can donate to the Ted Cruz Needs His Reputation Back Fund.
Do not donate to that. No. What a little, just his face. You can't have a face like that and be full of crap. He's like,
I did our
what,
friend.
Me? Me. That's my Ted Cruz impression.
I did our friend Tucker Hobby's podcast yesterday. It was very fun. And we talked about this, and it was like, I honestly don't care that Ted Cruz went to Cancun because, he's a guy with means and he's a politician. Like, go figure. It didn't surprise me. It was that he was, he should have flown private or something. The fact that he was so reckless.
But that shows how stupid he is.
That's the issue that bugged me.
But that's where I'm like, you should not be in a pit. That is the smartest choice that you were able to make. You lose the job by default.
I just imagine.
You're not a mastermind. I don't mind if all these billionaires are doing it for themselves and we're just going to keep doing it as we're doing. But if you are that dumb, again, you can't be that dumb and have that face. You know what I mean?
I would just love to see the conversation.
You looked like a tired dad just going through the airport with that dumb little rolly,
yeah,
backpack.
Remember when you were in school and kids had the rolly backpacks and, we would always make fun of them?
Well, I didn't make fun of them because I'm a hero.
You were nicer than me.
Yeah.
But what I was just saying is I would love, and we'll wrap up on this, but I would love to have seen that conversation with Ted Cruz and one of his aides. And his aide's Senator Cruz, don't you think we should kind of keep you incognito a little bit, maybe get you on a private plane where the state's in crisis, people might notice. It's nah, I got the mask. They won't know it's me. Pretty sure they're going to know it's you. You're one of the most famous people in politics. You and AOC are actively beefing on Twitter right now.
Well, especially because he's got one of the, sorry for body shaming, he's got one of those bodies that's just kind of shapes, he's not heavy set.
LaForce body shaming, wow.
I'm just saying you could spot that guy a mile away.
Now,
there's nothing about him that blends in.
Now, hold on. If Ted Cruz was like Tadina or, a woman...
I'm sorry, what?
Tadina, yeah. I'm just saying, would you have comments if Ted Cruz was female?
No, I just said that obviously I'm saying this in jest. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't think Ted Cruz I'm not punching down.
Yeah, he's
fine. A white dude and with plenty of privilege. Yeah, he'll be fine.
I think they were staying at the Ritz or something, and
yeah, beat it. Okay.
Anyway, guys, on that note, we'll be back with lots of official news to cover and break down next week. We've got an exciting week ahead of us, with this being my birthday week. Now I will do a full recap of what it's like to have yet again another birthday when you are a leap year and there is no leap day.
He's a leapy.
Other than that, Scott, any thoughts? You were engineering for us. You didn't chime in too much.
Just trying to hold down the fort,
Always. You guys have a wonderful, safe week. Be good to yourselves. Be kind to each other. We'll see you next week.